So chapter 13, we finished chapter 13 of Bhagavad Gita as it is by Srila Prabhupada last week. So any idea what we discussed in the last class?
Nature, enjoy the consciousness.
Enjoy the consciousness.
Nature, enjoy the consciousness.
Nature, enjoy and consciousness. Okay.
Relationship with Jiva.
Okay. So what are the conclusions of that chapter?
But it's a very difficult chapter, technically.
Yeah, it's a very difficult chapter. And how do we understand that? By taking shelter of Guru. Under his guidance, contemplate and develop an understanding of the chapter. That's where we ended now, last class. We saw that the soul does not get mixed up with the body, regardless of any activity. The soul remains aloof. But when the Paramatma guides the soul and travels with the soul, regardless, throughout the journeys of the soul, into different species of life. Paramatma is a very close friend, so we saw that, right? We saw that the individual soul is a small Kshetrajna and Paramatma is a bigger Kshetrajna. He knows about all other bodies as well, whereas the Jiva only knows about his or her own body. And Prabhupada said that we must scrutinizingly study this chapter under a bona fide spiritual master, contemplate and understand the topic.
We discussed that Paramatma is a Upadrashta Anumanta and he is there in the living and animal species as well. So does he perform that function? Just trying to understand how will he guide an animal, in the sense it is how will he guide a jiva in any animal's world?
Yeah, Paramatma has got two functions, Upadrushta and Anumanta. For animals, my understanding is that he will not lead animals to self-realization. But obviously, an animal has to know how to drink from its mother's.
Okay, so just because
of the presence of Paramatma, that guidance is there, that this is your mother, this is your father, those relationships with who teaches otherwise, who is the mother, father, even for human beings for that matter. So he's also directing the jivas in that sense. Yeah. But going back to Godhead is only the prerogative of human form of life. But of course, there are, with the mercy of the Lord, anything is possible. There are, for example, if you see Gajendra was an elephant. From there directly he went back to spiritual world. So those are rare cases. Those you can consider as exceptions to the rule.
Prabhu, I had a question. There was a car park question that was answered by Madhavananda Prabhu. His Shankarachandras. Shankarachandra Maharaj, he answered those questions. In that, he has written in the spiritual world, there are jivas that are Sachidananda as well as the paraphernalia of Sachidananda. But they are not alive. How do we understand that? One of those.
There are jivas which are?
There are jivas that are Sachidananda.
Oh, okay.
And for example, anything like a stone, tree, they are also Sachidananda, but they are not alive or something like that.
Yeah, there is no soul inside.
There is no soul inside. How can that? Because the soul is Sachidananda. But
a soul is Sachidananda, but it is not that everything which is Sachidananda has to be a soul.
Uh-huh.
You can do a Venn diagram and check it. All souls are Sachidananda, but all those which are Sachidananda need not be souls. Like
okay, so do we understand that only matter is ignorant?
That's what I understood from that.
So only matter is ignorant, but otherwise if it is...
There is nothing called as matter in one sense, in the spiritual world.
Okay.
Matter means material energy.
So
there is nothing called as matter.
Material energy is ignorant basically.
Pardon?
Only material energy is full of ignorance.
Only material energy, is matter and ignorance. Yeah. There is nothing like that in the spiritual world. But in the spiritual world, everything is Brahman. Even for that matter, everything is Brahman. Even material energy is Brahman. But it is not in contact with the inferior energy of the Lord. Okay, the superior energy of the Lord only prevails in the spiritual world. So what Shankarachandra said that yes, there are jivas and then there are objects like fruits, etc., which do not have a jiva inside them, but they are Sachidananda. Now how that is, it's a different question. Maybe we can check with Bhanu Maharaj more to elaborate on that. At least I do not know how that is. If otherwise every apple is a jiva, then you will tick 10 times. They will say, don't eat me if it says, then what will you do?
No, but we hear that when Krishna comes down, his paraphernalia, they also manifest here.
Paraphernalia, yes, are there. Because paraphernalia will be there. Because Sudarshan Chakra has got there's a personality. Sudarshan Chakra there is a personality behind Sudarshan Chakra. But not every apple and orange will have a personality. Every lemon which is hanging, so that's what he meant. Not everything has got a soul. But it's a good question. I mean, we need to obviously understand it from in a deeper sense. So, I don't think in this room we have that answer.
I thought those who are in Shantaras actually are, like a person who is in Shantar might be a tree or a...
But there is a soul, even for a rasa to exist, there has to be consciousness.
Yes.
And that's why the rasa will be there, no?
Yes.
But here what we are saying is that, and for a rasa to exist, there has to be a soul. So Shantaras is also, there is a soul, presence of a soul there. But we are not talking about the tree right now, we are talking about the fruit. An apple, for example. Now, does the apple have a life?
In spiritual world.
In the spiritual world, and if so, can we eat that apple? That's the question. Is there a jiva? What I understood from Shankarshandan Maharaj's answer was that no. Everything is Sachidananda, but not necessarily that the soul is inside the apple. But this is something we can check. Actually, Adikeshwar Prabhu is there at my house. So, now he has of course gone for Nityananda Prabhu's program, but I'll ask him this question tomorrow morning. Okay, so.
I have a question. So Paramatma will accompany the Jiva everywhere. And what happens if one goes to back to Godhead?
Pardon?
One goes to Vaikuntha Loka, Vrindavan. Will Paramatma still continue to be with the Jiva?
There is no Paramatma in the spiritual world. When you have already gone there, you don't need Paramatma. Because you have Bhagavan with you. Why don't you need Paramatma? And Bhagavan is Paramatma also. So, you can't say that Paramatma does not exist in the spiritual world. In one sense, you can't even make that statement because the Paramatma, the Lord is omnipotent. Okay, but there is a higher aspect. Bhagavan himself is there. Hare Krishna, Haribo. Come. Please welcome Bhanu Prabhu's father. Haribo. Nice to have them back. Where is mother?
She's there.
He's coming? Where? Other side. Why don't she sit? Okay. Maybe Mataji can manage and. Okay, so. Yeah.
We'll take the example. I only half heard, because I came late. The fruit, apple and tree example you were talking about, I think spiritual world, right? Does the apple have soul in the spiritual world? Now, the same thing, does the apple have soul in material world?
No. The tree has.
Tree.
Not the apple.
And similarly, no leaves also.
It's like, for example, my nail falls down, then there's nothing. It's not that it's been murdered. My nail has been murdered or something like that. Correct. Okay. So we'll go to chapter 14. Today we want to complete 16 verses of chapter 14. So we'll have to go fast. But most of it you already know. So it shouldn't be too much of rocket science to understand. We have gone through the most difficult chapter already. Chapter 13 is behind us, thankfully. Okay, chapter 14. The three modes of material nature. Story time. Okay, the children, story time for you. You want to hear a story or no? You want to hear story? Hands up if you want to hear a story. Okay, Vrinda, you have to go out of the room because you don't want to hear a story. You want to hear or no? Yes. Okay. Then you have to raise your hands. Then only I will tell you the story. Okay. So once upon a time there was a place called as Simhala Dweep, where there was a king by the name Vikram Vetal. Not joking. Seriously, his name was Vikram Vetal. I have heard of Vikram king and I have heard of Vetal, but I have never heard of a king Vikram Vetal. But this king's name was Vikram Vetal. So one day this king went to the forest for hunting. Okay. And his son was there along with 2 hunting dogs along with him. Now, as he was going on this hunting expedition, then suddenly one dog saw a rabbit. Okay, and immediately the dog started chasing that rabbit. And that rabbit was running so fast, it seemed as if it was flying. Like that. So, do rabbits fly? This rabbit was flying almost. So fast it was running. Running and running and running. They went to a very beautiful hermitage, which was very peaceful. The place was very peaceful. So the king is going, the dog is there, the rabbit has run, and it took them to a hermitage. Now when they reached the hermitage, what did they see? They saw that a deer was happily sitting under the shade of a tree. And monkeys were joyfully eating the fruits from that tree. Next to them, there were cubs of tigers who were playing with baby elephants. Okay. And then snakes were crawling over peacocks in this place. Which means what? There was nothing chaotic here. No violence. Everything peaceful like that. And in that place, a great sage called as Vatsa lived in that place, that hermitage. Now, what was the sadhana of this great sage Vatsa? Any ideas? He used to regularly chant the chapter 14 of
Bhagavad Gita.
As it is, it's not said. But it must be as it is. Obviously, it wasn't Mayavadi Bhagavad. Otherwise, Lord Shiva wouldn't mention that. Gita Mahatma. So, he was regularly chanting the 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. This was who? The great sage Vatsa. Now, near the ashram, the sage was nowhere to be found. Okay? But this came to be known that yes, some Vatsa sage is here. Now, however, he had a disciple. When this rabbit was running there and the dog was chasing, this ashram disciple of Vatsa was washing his own feet. And as he was washing his own feet, maybe he had gone somewhere and come, he was washing his own feet. As he was washing his feet, he was chanting something. What was he chanting? Chapter 14 of the Bhagavad Gita he was chanting. Okay. So, what happened was, the earth below his feet became wet. The earth below his feet became wet. And there was some puddle of water. The rabbit ran right into that puddle and slipped into the mud. What happened? By the time the dog would have caught and... No! It did not happen like that. The moment the rabbit went into the mud, what happened?
The inimical nature went
It developed a four-armed form. It attained a heavenly body. I don't know whether it was four-armed. It attained a heavenly body. Okay. And an airplane came and took the rabbit to the spiritual world. Now who was coming behind? The dog. What did the dog do? The dog went to catch that rabbit. Rabbit went back to the spiritual world just by the puddle which was washing the feet of a person who was chanting the 14th chapter. Now the dog came, the dog also slipped into that puddle. So another airline came. Dog also gone. Okay. Now seeing all this, King Vikram Vetal was completely bewildered. But the disciple who was washing his feet, he was laughing and laughing. Okay. Disciple of who? Sage Vatsa. Okay. So he was laughing. So obviously King Vikram Vetal had two questions. What could be the two questions? One is, how did they attain this Vaikuntha form? Second is, why are you laughing? Correct? These are the two questions. Correct? So he said, how is it possible that the rabbit and dog went off to heaven in front of our eyes? So then the Brahmana answered, this person who was washing the feet, he was a Brahman, he is answering, in this forest lives a great sage Vatsa who has completely conquered his senses. So he is a Goswami, like that. And he is always engaged in chanting the 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And I am his disciple. And by his grace, I am also involved in chanting the 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Due to the water that washed my feet when I was chanting this, they both attained the heavenly planet. Second question.
Why did you know?
Why are you laughing then? He says, in Maharashtra, there is a town called as Pratudha. What is that? Pratudha. Where is your teeth gone? Okay, there is a hole in between your teeth. Okay. Why? So there is a town called as Pratudha. Okay. Then one cruel Brahmana used to live there. His name was Keshav. Cruel Brahman. He lived there, and he had a very unchaste wife also on top of that, whose name was Vilobhana. Okay. So Keshav and Vilobhana. This Vilobhana, she always used to lust for other men. So one day her husband got very angry. Husband was anyway cruel. Okay. He got very angry and he killed her. Killed the wife. So cruel husband and unchaste wife. Disastrous combination. So he killed. So in next lifetime, what happened to that wife? Any guesses? No. She became the dog. Jayamani Prabhu is following the story. He was close to the truth. Okay. And who was the rabbit? Keshava. So now you understand why the dog was chasing behind the rabbit. Because last Janam he had killed. So this time the dog is saying that now I will not kill you. Okay. So this was why he was laughing, seeing the situation. See how the repeated cycle of birth and death, your karma. You get a human life and then you degrade yourself into animal life. So that is going on. The law of nature goes on like this because of this karma. So Lord Shiva says to Parvati, after hearing the glories of chapter 14, King Vikram Vetal also began reciting 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita every day, and when he gave up his body, he went to Vaikuntha where he was able to engage eternally in the service of the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. This is the Falashruti of chapter 14. So when you wash your feet, please remember to chant this. At least the day before the exam you wash your feet. Huh?
Make sure there is a cat and dog coming across.
Make sure you read before the exam. All right. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, again I shall declare to you this supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all the sages have attained the supreme perfection. Rajkumar Prabhu, want to read?
From the 17th chapter to the...
Read 7th chapter. Don't go to 17th.
From the 7th chapter to the...
Little loudly, Prabhu.
12th chapter, Sri Krishna in detail reveals the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Little loudly can you read too?
Now the Lord himself is further enlightening Arjuna. If one understands this chapter through the process of philosophical speculation, he will come to an understanding of devotional service. In the 13th chapter, it was clearly explained that by humbly developing knowledge, one may possibly be freed from material entanglement. It has also been explained that it is due to association with the modes of material nature that the living entity is entangled in this material world. Now in this chapter, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Supreme Personality explains what those modes of material nature are and how they act, how they bind and how they give liberation. The knowledge explained in this chapter is proclaimed by the Supreme Lord to be superior to the knowledge given so far in other chapters. By understanding this knowledge, various great sages attained perfection and transferred to the spiritual world. The Lord now explains the same knowledge in a better way. This knowledge is far, far superior to all other process of knowledge thus far explained, and knowing this, many attain perfection. Thus, it is expected that one who understands this 14th chapter will attain perfection.
One who attends 14th chapter will attain. One who understands, yeah. What are the points here?
Krishna is saying that now is going to explain the best of the knowledge. And that's, when he says best of the knowledge, I think it's relating to living entities and property. When we say that it is the best knowledge, it's a progression from 13th chapter. Like a filtered knowledge from 13th chapter. And we say that I am asking.
He's saying?
Can we say that it is the filtered knowledge progressing from 13th chapter? Because Prabhu mentioned that it is the best knowledge.
Yeah, we'll come to that. Anything else?
Prabhupada also is mentioned here that we should speculate. Usually he says don't speculate. But Bhagavad Prabhupada writes that the speculation in this instance is that you hear from one of our source and then you use your intelligence.
You have written, come. Put.
This knowledge will free us from material entanglement.
Yeah. Okay. So, the key verse that is connecting chapter 13 and 14, and we must know this connection across chapters, flows, because sometimes in the exam such questions can come. Okay. What is the connection between 13 and 14 chapter? I know you will look at me.
Notes are there.
So whatever today we are going to speak, till the end of the course will all come in the exam. So key verse connecting 13 and 14 chapters is 13.22. 13.22 is also likely to be a key memory verse. What is that verse? Purushak prakriti stohi bhukte prakriti jan gunan karanam guna sangasya sad asad yoni janmashu. What do you mean by that? Let's go back to 13.22. What is mentioned? The living entity in material nature, what does it do? Thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Karanam guna sangasya. Association with material nature. Because of that, what happens? Sad asad yoni janmashu. Thus he meets with good and evil among the yoni, the various species. Okay. So which means good, evil, all these dualities exist only because of the presence of the three modes of material nature. In the spiritual world, the three modes of material nature are absent. Therefore, there is no duality in the spiritual world. There is nothing like good, bad, beautiful, ugly, nothing like that in the spiritual world. All these dualities exist in the material world. Happiness, suffering. All this is Karanam Guna Sangasya. So this is going to be a key memory verse. Most likely it will be there in your exam.
When you say no dualities, do you mean heat, cold and things like that?
There is variety, but there is no duality.
But we consider heat and cold as duality, isn't it? So, is it there? No, it's not there.
There is only one absolute truth. In fact, I'll tell you what, there is an example I can give you. Even in this material world, actually there is nothing called as heat and cold. One day I was sitting with Premnidhi Prabhu in a classroom, last to last yatra, and he was teaching us some course, and he asked the class, someone said, Prabhu, AC off kar do, and other person said, no, Prabhu, don't off the AC. There were two opinions immediately in the class. Okay, one wanted AC off, one didn't want. So the question came in the class, is it hot right now or is it cold? So some people said it is hot, some people said it is cold. Now who is right, who is wrong here? So everyone, diplomacy says what? Nobody is right and nobody is wrong. Or everybody is right and everybody is wrong. But absolute truth is beyond diplomacy. So absolute truth is what? It is neither hot nor cold, it is 21 degrees centigrade. That is the absolute truth. Now under that absolute truth, somebody may feel it as cold, somebody may feel it as hot. Correct? So this is an example of duality, how we perceive things. Like that. It is dark. Darkness is what? Absence of light. So it's all relative. So the absolute, in the spiritual world, there is no duality. So chapter 13 has described the what, and chapter 14 is describing the how. Okay. Chapter 13 describes what happens to the conditioned soul, and how the conditioned soul is distinct from material nature. It explains all that. What is Kshetra, Kshetragya, all these things it explained. Okay, it mentions, it talks about what happens to the conditioned soul. What happens to the conditioned soul? It gets entangled with material nature and it is trapped within the Kshetra, which is the field of activities. Okay. Chapter 14 describes the how the soul is limited and controlled within the confines of the Kshetra, which is provided by the three modes of material nature. That is what this chapter is describing. How the soul is limited and controlled within the confines of the body, which is provided by the three modes of material nature. Also, towards the end of chapter 14, Lord Krishna provides a solution to attain freedom from the three modes of material nature. Okay. And here Lord Krishna uses the verse Bhuyaha. Bhuyaha means what? Again. He is saying that again I am repeating this knowledge for you, my dear Arjuna. So that is how important this knowledge is. The three modes of material nature. And it is the best of all knowledge. Because unless we understand gun, we cannot understand karma. Even in science of self-realization, if you see the way we have structured the seminars, we talk about Jiva, then we talk about Ishvara, then we talk about Guna, then we talk about Kala and then Karma. Like that. Okay. So our flow is also almost like that. Okay. So this knowledge is considered to be the best of all. Unless one understands the three modes of material nature, how can one change his or her own nature? Unless we understand our as is nature, how can we go to a to be state of nature? Right? So, Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan gives an analogy of this knowledge. He says, this knowledge resembles the distillation of yogurt from milk. Realizing this knowledge and meditating on this knowledge, all great sages have got the correct perception of the super soul. And then it is mentioned that by proper use of intelligence, one has to understand the Shastras. Actually, that is the proper use of intelligence. The proper use of intelligence is to understand the Shastric truths by Shabda Praman from the authorities and not merely by speculation with our finite intelligence. That is how we have to understand. Why Gurujan Prabhu mentions this line is, as Kiran Prabhu pointed out, I was expecting a question from those who were awake while reading this purport. Okay. What does Prabhupada write? Can you go to that line which sounds controversial here? Nobody asked the question.
How they give liberation?
No.
If one
understands this chapter through the process of philosophical speculation.
Okay.
Come to
can you read everyone?
understanding of devotional.
Correct. So can everyone read that line loudly?
If one understands this chapter through the process of philosophical speculation.
Has Prabhupada ever written such a purport before? To understand some chapter through philosophical speculation? But see, Prabhupada is writing that here. Nobody asked that question. So, Gurujan Prabhu points out that when Prabhupada is writing that, yes, we cannot understand, we cannot speculate the absolute truth by our finite intelligence. But Prabhupada, when he says that here you use philosophical speculation, he means that we should understand the truths, Shastric truths from a bona fide spiritual master, and then introspect without using our intelligence and put it to practical use. That is what he means. So he is clarifying the mood of Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada actually doesn't mean philosophical speculation. Does it make sense? Though he is writing that, his mood is... So that is why the mood of the Acharya has to be known by someone who knows his mood closely. We cannot understand Srila Prabhupada's purports but for his disciplic succession. And that is where the Ritviks go wrong. Okay. Through the disciplic succession, we are able to understand what Prabhupada is writing. So, if Gurujan Prabhu wouldn't have commented on this, then at least for myself I wouldn't have understood. I would have still been left thinking what Prabhupada wrote like that. So, he has been very merciful to put it in the right perspective for the understanding of all of us. So Bhajan Prabhu writes, however, in this context, philosophical speculation refers to hearing from a bona fide spiritual authority, then using one's intelligence to understand what has been heard. Okay. So we still have to use our intelligence to understand what we have heard. For example, if someone says, if you hear someone blaspheming a devotee, you must cut off his tongue. We don't literally go and cut off his tongue, because we will go to jail there. Correct? No? And we cannot. And the jail is not a great place for performing devotional service. So we need someone to help us understand the mood of the person who is speaking these verses. That is very important. We can't take everything literally in English, the way it is told. So that is where we find a good example here of how our acharyas after Srila Prabhupada are helping us understand Prabhupada's books. By becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain to the transcendental nature like my own. Thus established, one is not born at the time of creation or disturbed at the time of dissolution. So Lord Krishna glorifies here the knowledge which is explained in this chapter. So here, again let's just go through this translation. Thus established, one is not born at the time of creation or disturbed at the time of dissolution, and one can attain to the transcendental nature. So we saw in the Falashruti how simply by drinking, by slipping into the puddle of water, right, this dog and the rabbit, they attain transcendental platform like that. Okay. So that is the power of understanding chapter 14 of the Bhagavad Gita. And Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan has commented here, he states that we attain this knowledge by worshipping the lotus feet of the spiritual master. Okay. So there we saw that the water washing the spiritual master's feet, but for us washing the spiritual master's feet is not only literally washing the spiritual master's feet, but taking shelter of spiritual master's feet means what? Taking the instructions. Today ISKCON Prabhu was addressing the Mill Park Bhakti Vriksha program, and there he mentioned that people ask Srila Prabhupada, we want to be close to you, we want to travel with you, we want to be with you, like that. Because obviously Prabhupada was such a magnetic personality, right? So people wanted to be with him, right? So Prabhupada said, at this point in time, do you know who is closest to me? And who was that? It was a fly which was closest to Prabhupada. Prabhupada says, but he is sucking my blood. Right? It's a nuisance. Right? So we can be close physically to Maharaj and still be a nuisance to him. Better off we are far away and serving him such that we are in his close confidential circles through service. Like that. So therefore, Baldev Vidyabhushan writes here that we can attain this knowledge by worshipping the lotus feet of the spiritual master. By performing Mahat Seva, then we can transcend the three modes of material nature. Mahat Seva is very powerful. So Lord Krishna now begins to explain the relationship between material nature, the conditioned jivas, and himself. Prakriti or guna, jivas and himself, Bhagavan. That relationship is going to be explained. The total material substance called Brahman is the source of birth, and it is that Brahman that I impregnate, making possible the births of all living beings, O son of Bharata. It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am the seed-giving father. Okay, this is very often quoted, this verse from Bhagavad Gita. Aham bija prada pita. I am the seed-giving father. Lord Krishna is saying.
But Prabhu, this is only for the body, is it? Because
This is
each
for
soul
everything.
the soul doesn't have an origin.
If the soul what?
The soul doesn't have an origin, right?
Correct.
So soul doesn't come. Soul doesn't have a father.
Why? Lord Krishna is the father of all.
No, but Krishna says everybody existed eternally. There's no. So
Still there is a soul.
still there is a birth.
Everybody existed eternally, but again, Achinta Veda Ved Tattva means what? Everybody is not God. There is still a supreme.
But if soul came from Krishna, then there's the beginning, right, for the soul.
There was a 10 seconds gap. Nityo Nityanam Chetana Chetanam. Eko Bahuda Yo Vidadati Kam.
Brahma Samhita says candle.
Yeah. So, all of us existed all the time. But then the Lord decided to separate himself for the sake of rasa. Right? And then we got separated from the Lord. Then Achintya Abhed Tattva started. Don't scratch your head to go to reference point. You will never understand. Actually, we will never understand it then. Reference point, zero question, nobody can answer.
We have a forgetfulness as well. Because of the forgetfulness.
Because of forgetfulness, but his question is that all of us existed. So, but then all of us existed with our own, we were all always individual jivas, existing eternally within the Lord. Right? But still, the Lord is considered as the source of us. Simply because, can we be the source of the Lord? No. Correct? So then the Lord is the source of us. That's the only thing possible. Correct? Okay. So it is mentioned here that the total material substance called Brahman is the source of birth, and it is that Brahman that I impregnate, making possible the birth of all living entities. So, in Srimad Bhagavatam it is written that at the corner of the spiritual sky is a dark cloud. Everyone knows this?
Yes.
Who doesn't know, please raise your hand. You don't know. Okay, you have to explain this then quickly. Okay. Just use the board.
Prabhu.
So this is the spiritual world. Where is the material world? Huh? Somewhere here? No. In one corner of the spiritual sky, what is there? What is the spiritual sky made up of? Everything is what? Brahman is the original cosmic substance. Correct? Everything is Brahman. What is this? Let's take. What is this made up of? This jacket? Which cloth? Cotton? Cotton. Where does cotton come from? Where did the shirt come from? This jersey or whatever you call it. It came from factory. No, factory, whatever, but cotton. Correct. It came from yarn. Where did yarn come from? Cotton wool. Cotton wool, whatever. Cotton. Where did that cotton come from? From a tree. Where did the tree come from? Earth. Where did earth come from? Earth came from Mahat Tattva is what? Earth, water, fire, air. So the origin of earth is what? Mahat Tattva. Origin of Mahat Tattva is what? Pradhan. Origin of Pradhan is Brahman. That's all we need to know. Is this clear? If we know that, that is good enough. So everything is Brahman. Now this Brahman is called as Nirguna Brahman. Okay? Nirguna means what? It has got no qualities. Correct?
No.
No.
Material.
Nirguna means what? It does not have any material qualities. So this is called as Nirguna Brahman. And then what happens? This Nirguna Brahman, in one corner there is a substance which is called as Pradhan. Pradhan is the origin of matter at the second level after Brahman. Pradhan is also Brahman in one sense. Okay? But this aspect is called as Saguna Brahman. Okay? Because all modes of material nature, material qualities are within this Saguna Brahman. Okay? Now, this Pradhan, what happens is when Mahavishnu lies and then glances at this Pradhan, okay, Shambhu, Lord Shiva as Shambhu carries that glance of Mahavishnu. And then what happens? This Pradhan becomes agitated and active. Right? Pradhana is the inactive state of the primeval cosmic substance. Okay? When Mahavishnu glances at it, this Pradhana becomes active. Okay? It comes to an active state. For example, in your SAP financials, a company code is created, but it is not activated. Who are your SAP consultant? Your SAP consultant. Okay. So it is not activated. Till it's activated, it is just lying there dead. Or there is a batch program which you have made, for those of you in IT. It will not send data till it is activated, but it still exists in the production server. Correct? So similarly, like that, this Pradhana is not activated right now. So when it is activated, then it becomes, what is that called as? The Pradhana becomes Mahat Tattva. Correct? Now all the three modes of material nature, all the jivas, everything is released into this Mahat Tattva. Mahat Tattva is essentially three modes of material nature is also part of the Mahat Tattva. But the jivas are released from the body of Mahavishnu into that Mahat Tattva. And then all our bodies are created. In very short. You can go on explaining this, but at a very short, high level, this is what you need to understand. So the original source for everything is Brahman. Brahman, Pradhan, Mahat Tattva, and from Mahat Tattva comes earth, water, fire, air, ether. Correct? Which is the gross body. And from there again also comes mind, intelligence and false ego. All these are created by the interaction of the three modes of material nature. So that's it. This extent, if we understand it, good for this course. Yeah, in Bhagavatam we will go deeper into this. Yes.
So at this point of time, we can say that at this point of time we are in Brahman, right?
There is nothing called as the material world in one sense. Okay. If you go to verse number 2.9.34, just check if this is the correct verse. 2.9.34. Can you go? Srimad Bhagavatam. Anyone else? Okay. The verse is Rite Ritam Yat Pratiyeta Na Pratiyeta Cha Atmani Tat Vidya Atmano Mayam Yatha Bhasho Yatha Tama. Just find out that. You have found? No one has internet? I think it is 2.9.34. Rite Ritam Yat Pratiyeta. Correct? Pratiyeta. Can you read that translation loudly?
Oh Brahma, whatever appears.
Slowly.
Oh Brahma.
Oh Brahma. So Lord is speaking to Brahma. Why Lord is speaking to Brahma? Because Brahma is sitting on the lotus flower. He doesn't know what to do. So Lord is speaking to him. Yeah.
Whatever appears to be of any value.
Whatever appears to be of any value.
If it is without relation to me.
If it is without relation to me.
Has no reality.
Has no reality. Right?
Know it as my illusionary energy.
Know it as my illusory energy.
That reflection which appears to be in darkness.
That reflection which appears to be in darkness. So actually, in actual practice, everything is Krishna's energy. Everything is one energy in that sense. So anything which is seen separately from Lord Krishna can be called as material. If this laptop is used to watch Bollywood movies, it is a material energy. But the moment that it is used purely for Krishna's service, then it is no longer an ordinary laptop. Then it becomes spiritual. So anything that you don't see in relationship to Krishna is called as material. In that sense, there is nothing called as material. Yes, Sastrically we say there is an inferior energy of the Lord. But how can something of the Lord, coming from the Lord, can be called as inferior? Correct? But for technical understanding, all this is given. But in actual practice, everything is Brahman. It's just that we don't realize everything is Brahman. Okay, for example, if this is Melbourne, okay, and this is Melbourne jail. Okay. Suppose you ask me, where do you live in Melbourne? I live in Melbourne jail. Suppose you say, like, kya baat kar rahe ho? Oh, no. That means you are not living in Melbourne. No, I am living in Melbourne only. Same thing. Melbourne jail. Ki baat hai? Sab Melbourne mein hi hai. District is Melbourne, government is Melbourne, land is within Melbourne. Though it is within this, is it the same? Living here and here. Still you qualify it separately, no? But actually there is nothing called as jail. When somebody in Melbourne puts 4 walls around and calls it as jail, it becomes jail. Otherwise it is Melbourne. If you remove the 4 walls, what is there? So actually then everything is Brahman. There is nothing called as material world in one sense. Does it make sense? In that sense, if you see, you will understand. Everything is within the spiritual sky. Prabhupada writes itself, in one corner of the spiritual sky there is a material world. So between material, there is nothing actually separately in one sense called as spiritual world. It is a consciousness. Of course, when you come out, it's called as the spiritual world. You realize the spiritual world. When you are here, you don't realize the spiritual world. Right? So we have to understand that way. There is no duster here. Yeah. Can I ask? Yeah, one. There are 3 hands which went up. I saw him first.
What is the role of Brahma in this?
What is the role of Brahma in what?
In the context of what the diagram that you explained, that Lord Shiva carries the glance and he agitates.
Yeah, he agitates this. Okay, again I have to go back to an example which I have always given. Whenever my wife goes to, she goes to India, she makes idli batter. You know that example?
Yeah.
Okay. And if she tells me idli batter fridge mein rakha hai, but main kya karu idli batter? I have no idea what to do after that. Correct, no? So somebody needs to give me also knowledge of what to do with that idli batter. That I have to take it, put it in that idli stand, then what temperature to keep, when the cooker will CT bajayega, when I have to take, how I have to take the idli out without it all becoming, whatever. All that I don't know, no? So the primal substance she has provided and gone. Then there is, this is called as the sarga or the primary creation. Okay. But then finally it has to be made into different bodies, into the body of a deer, into the body of whatever, rat, rabbit, human being. All that is the duty of Lord Brahma. But the knowledge for that is given by Lord Krishna. This is called as Visarga. Sarga and Visarga, secondary creation. This is called as primary creation. Primary creation is all this, whatever you said, up to the point of Mahavishnu glancing, correct? Agitating, everything is happening. And universes are coming out from the pores, right? And into every universe, all these elements are going. But after that, then Garbhodakshay enters, Vishnu enters into every universe. From his navel comes Brahma, and then Brahma sees all these constituents, this whole idli batter lying around. And then he doesn't know what to do with it. He doesn't even know why he is there. Correct? And then he does tapa, and then Lord Krishna comes and tells him why he is sitting there, what he is supposed to be doing, how he is supposed to do whatever he is supposed to do. He is giving all that knowledge. Tene Hridaya, first verse of Adi Kave. Yes.
So is that knowledge given by Krishna or Lord Vishnu?
Okay. There is no difference between Lord Krishna and Lord Vishnu in one sense.
Yes.
In some universes, it is mentioned that Lord Krishna's two-handed form was there. From his flute, he transferred that knowledge. In some cases, you will find that the four-handed form of Vishnu is coming. Because there are millions and millions of universes. In each universe, In different ways this knowledge is transmitted. That's why you will find in different sections of Bhagavad on the same pastime, sometimes mentioned 200 forms, sometimes mentioned 400 forms, because so many universes are there. Right? Yeah.
So Prabhu, in the context of what is the diagram, going back to Godhead doesn't necessarily mean that we can go back to Godhead only after leaving the body. As once we become fully Krishna conscious, we are actually back in spiritual world, even being in material world.
Yeah. For example, if a person in the jail follows the 4 regulative principles, gets up for Mangala Arati, takes a bath, chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, cooks, and then he is feeding the Lord and taking prasadam and is preaching in the jail, do you actually think he is in the jail? He is inside the jail but not off the jail. Correct? In one sense. And it will not be long before he gets released. Correct? And when he gets released, what he will do? He will do the same activity. Correct? So that is called Jivan Mukta. Liberated while being in one's body.
Prabhu.
Yes.
I just would like to understand the difference of Saguna and Nirguna, which is explained here. When we say the actual Brahman is Nirguna with no material qualities, and the Mahatattva, Pradhan with Saguna, which means with qualities, what qualities are we referring to?
3 modes of goodness, passion, and from there come all. That is Guna.
Material qualities essentially, right?
Material qualities. We will come to a little bit more details how it happens. Okay. We will go a bit faster, slightly behind schedule. Material nature consists of 3 modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. So this is where it is introduced in the Bhagavad Gita. Sattvam rajas tam iti guna prakriti sambhava nibadnanti mahabaho dehe dehinam avyayam. Material nature consists of 3 modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. When the internal living entity comes in contact with nature, O mighty armed Arjuna, he becomes conditioned by these modes. Okay? So someone wants to read this? Raji Mataji.
The living entity, because he is transcendental, has nothing to do with this material nature. Still, because he has become conditioned by the material world, he is acting under the spell of the 3 modes of material nature. Because living entities have different kinds of bodies, in terms of the different aspects of nature, they are induced to act according to that nature. This is the cause of the varieties of happiness and distress.
Okay. So this is important to understand. So it all starts, this whole story starts with the soul which wants to enjoy separately from Krishna. So it starts with a desire. Everything starts with a desire. Now why does the soul desire to enjoy separately from Krishna? Because the soul is tathashta, marginal energy of the Lord. There is a superior energy, inferior energy, and then marginal energy. The jivas belong to the superior energy, but they are the superior marginal energy, tathashta shakti. So margin means what? There is always the jivas are susceptible to fall down at any point in time. Okay, it's the nature of the jiva. They are susceptible to fall down. There is always an option to not enjoy with Krishna, to desire to enjoy separately from him. Keshav Prabhu was telling us in the last Bhagavatam class that actually the Acharya say that the jiva is right now with Krishna, we all are with Krishna, but for a momentary fraction of a second we have turned our face away to see how it's like without Krishna. And that momentary fraction of a second is many lifetimes in this material world, because that is a concept of time. Correct? So many lifetimes are going, and for the spiritual world actually you are just back, that's it. You are just seeing like that, enough, hey Baba. No, like that. So we have not left in that sense. But we can't experience the Lord because we are conditioned like that. It's just like if a person commits a crime. Let's say a person commits multiple murders and then he has been put inside the jail. The jail is 121 Dang Street. Correct? And his house is 122 Dang Street. How close he is to his house? But will he ever be in his house? Because he's inside the jail. So how does it matter whether it is just 1 foot away? Right? Beyond this wall is his house, his wife, family, everyone residing. But no, because you are inside the jail, it's like that. Almost like that. You can think. So we are actually with the Lord, but we can't experience. Because we are Bahirmukhi, we have turned our face away from Him. Like that. And in the fraction of a second, so many lifetimes go. So the soul wants to enjoy separately, and therefore immediately what happens, the soul contacts material nature and becomes conditioned by the modes of material nature. Okay?
So is this how we understand? Does that mean our desire is fulfilled, but then why can it not be fulfilled in other ways, just like this? Seems to be a bit of a torture. Did we desire for this as well?
Yeah, we desire for this. So sometimes, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the early science of self-realization classes, I always give this example about my son who wants to drive a car. Right? He was a small baby. He's crying, I want to drive your car. Obviously, I can't give him my car because car can be only driven in this country. 16 years plus? Above 16 you can drive. 18, above 18. Okay. So he can't ride, but he started crying, I want to ride, you don't love me, my dear father. My parents don't love me. Correct? They are being strict with me. Nobody cares. Like that. So crying and tantrum. Then what we do, we take the child and then give him an illusory experience of driving a car. Maybe give him that go-karting car, battery operated car somewhere, so he's going up and down. Correct? And the child thinks that he is in full control. Whereas the tracks are automatically taking wherever. But the child is doing all that. Correct? We think we are the controller, but everything happens by something else. Correct? But the child doesn't. The child is foolish. The child is saying, oh daddy, you know what? Oh, I went there so fast. I went. And the father says, oh, very good, my dear son. He also gives you a feeling that yes, you are the doer. Because if you tell the child that was illusion, he will again start crying. Correct? So it is very good, how nicely you drove. Like that. So that is the way Lord is making us also enjoy. Thinking that, oh, very good, big man. Materially successful. Like that. Right? So this is how the Lord facilitates our independent enjoyment. So, despite the desire for independent enjoyment, one's existence is strictly controlled by the modes of material nature. Though we are given the facility to enjoy, but we can only enjoy within the daira or within the scope of the 3 modes of material nature. Okay? So, the fault because of which we get conditioned in this material world is our own desire. Can we blame someone else that why did I get conditioned like that? So the fault is that it is because of our own independent desire, and therefore the acharyas say that this is like the criminal. A criminal cannot blame the judge for a jail sentence. Correct? He cannot say, oh, the judge is cruel person. He has put me inside jail. Because you have misused your independence. Therefore you have been put in jail. Whereas in the spiritual world it is mentioned that all the jivas willingly and lovingly keep Krishna in the center of all their actions. That is what is mentioned. Now, the jiva is Bahirmukhi, turn the face away from the Lord, right? So once we turn away our face away from the Lord because we want to enjoy separately, then the Lord also wants us to give a feeling that we are the controller. Now how that feeling is possible? For example, in Tamil we call it as choppu valayattu. You know what is choppu? Toy is like, toys and then the cooking utensil. In the childhood, my cousin sisters, I know, they will make that small pots and one small, nothing is there. Some cooker will be there, small cooker, plastic, like that. They will put and then, they will then cook very seriously, and then the parents will come and then say, no, everyone, we are going to cook and feed. And then they will say, very good. All the parents will say. They will not say, illusory. If you say like that, what happens to the child? Child will say, kya hai? I cooked so much out of love. They are not even recognizing. But then the mother says, oh, very nice it tastes. What all did you make? Mama, idli I made. Idli you made very good. Sambar, oh, here. Nothing is there. Air is there. Correct? So, by the appreciation, so the child needs the mother of the appreciation to feel genuinely happy that the child actually did something. But in actual fact, the child has not done anything. But that appreciation of the mother. So now I will take an analogy. So when we come into the material world, then how can the Lord convince us that we are the doer? So what does he, what happens first thing, what comes?
False ego.
False ego. Ahankar. So that is the outermost layer. Within everything is happening under the layer of false ego. Right? So the Lord gives that false ego first. Okay. Ishvaro aham bhogi siddho aham balavan sukhi. Keshav Prabhu also told that verse in the last Bhagavatam class. Which means we have to be convinced that we are the enjoyer. We have to enjoy the fruits of our activities. We are the doer, we are the enjoyer. I am perfect, I am powerful, and I am happy. We have to get all these feelings. Ishvaro aham bhogi. Okay, I am the enjoyer. Okay. Siddho aham. I am the controller. Balavan. I am the most powerful and I am happy. See, I have created this, I have bought this house in Turak because of my abilities. I am a successful person. Like that. So this false ego is required. Even in the ocean churning pastime, which we recently studied in Srimad Bhagavatam 8th Canto, chapter 8, it is mentioned that the Devas and the Asuras, they wanted the nectar of immortality, right? For which they had to churn the ocean. Now they are very powerful, but they cannot even lift that churning rod. So the Lord says, okay, hang on, I will do it for you. So he tells Garuda, he comes on Garuda, Garuda takes it on his back and then places it on the ocean. Now after having placed, they can't even balance the Devas and Asuras together. They can't even balance it. So the Lord has to come in the bottom as a pivot Kurma avatar, and he has to sit on the top also as Ajita to balance that whole thing, set up. Then on top of that, they can't even churn. So the Lord has to give them a rope called Vasuki, in the form of Vasuki. Now even after giving Vasuki, Vasuki emits toxic fumes from the mouth, which again these people cannot withstand. They are all falling down. Then the Lord has to give favorable winds, so that those toxic fumes do not kill the Devi Devatas. Right? So this is in Tamil, we call as Vaadapaditha Urichu Vayala Utinar. You take the kela, pura chilka nikal ke banana ko muh mein dala aur baad mein aisa kiya. Lord ne. And then gave the power of digestion by which it can go into the stomach. And gave the sense of taste so that it can be tasted. So, and we think we are the doers. Correct? So is it not enough to convince who is the ultimate doer? So, but we think because the false ego is so powerful, we think we are the doers. मैंने किया है सब. This estate मैंने अपने हाथों से खड़ा किया है. No, people say in Hindi we say, I am a self-made man. We say like that. So nobody is self-made. Okay. So this false ego is said to be a reflection of our true consciousness within matter, and it is the first covering that is supplied by material nature. And it is also said that false ego is the juncture between spiritual and material existence. It is the last thing which goes away. Right? Now what is this false ego? False ego means what? I am the center. Seeing everything through the eyes of aham mameti. Me and mine. I am the enjoyer and everything is mine. That is false ego. And it is said that this false ego is completely acceptable to perverted consciousness. They go very well together. Now based on the false ego of a person, now different people have different types of false ego. Correct? So based on the false ego of a person, then the elemental ingredients are supplied for the subtle body and the gross body. Right? If somebody's false ego is that I should be able to devour everyone and eat them whenever I want, then what is the body that is conducive for that? Without any inhibitions, you can do it in tiger or lion body. It's not that police will arrest you 302, nothing like that. Correct? No capital punishment is given to lion and tiger. Correct? Even if they kill a human being. Even if they kill some president or prime minister, they don't say, oh, prime minister assassinated by tiger. No. Therefore special sections will apply. It's not like that. Correct? So based on the false ego, the body is supplied for that person so he can continue enjoying in that way. Right? If someone wants to enjoy uncontrolled sex desire, then the body of a dog is there. Okay? You don't even have to work hard to afford a bedroom for that activity. You can do it in the bus stop also. In India it happens. Correct? You're standing in the bus stop and dogs are mating, in public, full public view. Right? Or even the monkeys run behind one another. Right? So based on your desires, then the body is given to enjoy that without restriction. Like that. Now based on such bodies which come out of our desire, we become controlled also. Now you cannot say, I had a desire to enjoy unrestricted sense gratification with the opposite sex. Therefore, Lord, you have given me a body of a monkey. But then, how will I want to be an entrepreneur. Now I want to create, some big industry. Now, is it possible? Not possible. You are conditioned to act like a monkey only. Or monkey cannot say, I want to be philosopher. It will not work like that because now you are conditioned. Or monkey cannot say, I want to eat in 5-star hotel. Monkeys are not allowed there. You can't take them. Gaurang Prabhu tells in one class, you can't take a monkey into a 5-star hotel. You can take a dog. Dogs have the privilege. But if you take, he tells actually in one lecture. Can you imagine entering a 5-star hotel like Bandar like Did anyone hear that class? No one heard this class? And I was just imagining, and I was laughing in the tram loudly. People saw me. I was just thinking that scene. Going with a monkey inside. Yeah.
Towards the time of resolution, when everything goes back into the Lord. So this false ego also goes with that, and then with the same false ego.
बाद में release हो जाता है.
Same.
Yeah. It's like your new credit card comes, but the debt is carried over. Card का color pink color हो गया रहेगा, but debt उतना ही है. You have to suffer the same thing. It doesn't go anywhere. Or your loan is transferred from one bank to another, but your debt remains the same. Like that. So based on such bodies, we become controlled by a specific combination of the three modes of material nature, and we naturally become attracted to exploiting the matter in a particular way. Okay, that's what it is explained. We want to exploit matter in a particular way. Okay. Example, a human being wants to, when he sees a fruit, he says, fruit salad bana ke khate hain. But when a pig sees a fruit, it doesn't, what fruit? But excreta, man is having passing stool, let me run. No, the pig will run there to taste. No? Like somebody was, Maharaj Vedas Priyamara saying, hot stool, the pig wants to taste. Like that. Just imagine now how conditioned. It doesn't even know that there is food available, which is good food available outside. It has to run towards the excreta. How that conditioning is, can't escape. You can't tell, dear pig, come to the class. Please take higher taste. Not possible. Because so much, because of that body is there, you can't go beyond a particular point with that. So you become conditioned to enjoy a particular matter in a particular manner. Like that. Thus the soul whose Swarup is what? Jivera Swarupa hoy? Hare Krishna Das, whose Nitya Das, Sachidananda, gets attracted to the material atmosphere and gets conditioned by it. And he is strictly controlled by the three modes of material nature and experiences the self as if it were temporary matter. This is how it is explained by Burijan Prabhu. And he says that all of us have somehow or the other earned this prison sentence. We are all now under prison sentence inside this body, right? Bound by the three modes of material nature, goodness, passion and ignorance, which are twisted in such a way that they are very strong. We cannot overcome that ordinarily without following the devotional process. It is not possible to overcome that. For example, it is very difficult to make a workaholic sit down in one place. If you are too much of mode of passion, work, 24 hours, 48 hours, no, it's not enough for them. Correct? Or more work, yeah. You are conditioned like that. You don't know what to do without that because there is no goal in life. Right? In my office also we have seen some people, Saturday, Sunday also, they will come to office. When you ask them what do you want, and sometimes some of them, it's not that they want promotions. They say कुछ है ही नहीं करने को. And you are thinking कुछ है ही नहीं, मंदिर में आ जाओ. You will suddenly realize you don't have any time to perfect this life. We need time, no, to perfect our lives. And we are thinking, my God, there is no time. 8 hours we are sitting there, doing Ugra Karma. Right? But for them, they will come on Saturday, Sunday also because they don't know what to do with their lives. Right? Because of the conditioning. Now, text 6, 7 and 8 explain the ways in which goodness, passion and ignorance force a soul to experience his existence. And text 9 gives a summary of that. So we will do verses 6 to 9 all together and then we will discuss. Okay. O sinless one, the mode of goodness being purer than the others is illuminating and it frees one from all sinful reactions. Those situated in that mode, which mode? Goodness. Mode of goodness, become conditioned by a sense of happiness and knowledge. So mode of goodness also is a conditioning, Prabhupada says. They become conditioned with a sense of happiness and knowledge. The mode of passion is born of unlimited desires. Asaye alai bole. We discussed, no? Naamella adil mele. Which means what? Desires are like waves. We are on top of those waves. Keeps coming and coming and coming. There is no end. Just like the waves are constantly hitting the banks, like that our desires are hitting us every day. No end. Okay. So the mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings. O son of Kunti, and because of this, the embodied living entity is bound to material fruitive actions. काम करते रहो. O son of Bharata, know that the mode of darkness, born of ignorance, is the delusion of all embodied living entities. The results of this mode are what? Pramada or madness, indolence and sleep, which bind the conditioned soul. Right? Sleep also binds the conditioned soul. Right? O son of Bharata, the mode of goodness conditions one to happiness. The mode of passion conditions one towards activity. And the mode of ignorance, covering one's knowledge, binds one to madness or inactivity. Activity, inactivity and happiness. So let's discuss this. So let's talk about mode of goodness. Now Arjuna is addressed here as what? In verse 6 as Anagha. Anagha means sinless. Okay. Because why Lord is addressing specifically Arjuna as Anagha in this verse only? Because mode of goodness, mode of passion and mode of ignorance, these are the modes which lead one to sinful activities. Mode of goodness will also lead to sinful activities, can lead to sinful activities. How? We will see. Okay. So, what is the problem with the mode of goodness? Murujan Prabhu writes, there are two sins attached in the mode of goodness. There are two things. Sukha and Jnana. Happiness and knowledge. So Murujan Prabhu clarifies, it is not that happiness is a problem. It is not that knowledge is a problem. But it is attachment to happiness and knowledge that is the problem. That is the cause of sin. It's neither happiness nor it is knowledge. But it is attachment to that happiness and knowledge that causes one to sin. Correct, no? If you are happy and that happiness is taken away from you, then you try to commit sinful activity so you can get back that happiness. अरे पहला तो इतना happy था, अभी चला गया, so let me try to get back that happiness. For example, if you are happy enjoying 1,000 rupees salary, and then the government starts taxing you 20%, then you start now getting 800 rupees salary. Then what you will do? You will say, okay, let me do some smuggling so that I can get 200, because you have got used to the happiness of 1,000 rupees salary. Now it is taken away from you. Now by sinful activity somehow you are trying to get back that happiness, right? So attachment to sukh and attachment to knowledge can lead you to sinful activity. Now knowledge means what? Here it is material knowledge, right? Correct? Attachment to knowledge. Now for example, I have one colleague in my office. His goal of life is to develop knowledge only. He says it's knowledge only who keeps me happy. Last week he was discussing with me. We had a heart-to-heart conversation. Okay, I want Jagan to develop knowledge. Knowledge of some module in SAP. Okay. His goal of life is to become expert in that module. Okay. I want to develop, because knowledge is power, Jagan was telling me. I said, yeah, in this industry knowledge is power. So, I'm just getting frustrated because I'm not doing the right role now. I am only, solving incidents and problems and all that, but actually I want to become industry expert in that knowledge. So I want to be able to go to conferences and present papers, industry papers, this, that. This is called as what? Too much attachment to what? Knowledge. Now what Prabhupada says, and I can see it in this person in my office, so much attached to knowledge that Prabhupada, when he wrote, attachment breeds pride. I could understand it so easily because I'm seeing it in this person in my office. He is the most proud in the office. You give him one work and he will complicate it to such an extent that, my goodness, I can do it with a 3-level junior consultant, that work and get it done. But when it goes to him, he will complicate it so much. No doubt he is the most knowledgeable, but when it goes to him, then it is nightmare getting something done out of it. Then I have to become Trinadapi Sunichena Taroriva Sahishnana Amanina Manadena Kirtayana, humbler than a blade of grass, tolerant than a tree. All that he will subject me to, and then he will gracefully do that work. And he will do it faster than others. Okay? Because knowledge is there. But why? Why does he subject everyone? Because more and more I see this person getting knowledgeable, more and more he treats people like dirt. And that is where, so knowledge is not a problem, but too much attachment to that knowledge automatically leads one to become proud. Look how much and his whole problem is, he can't tolerate anyone who does not have, what is this? You give him another consultant and little bit that consultant may not have the same enthusiasm to learn that. I don't like him. What is this? What kind of people are these? I am sitting 14 hours a day. Even after I am so knowledgeable, I am still trying to explore the knowledge which SAP is offering to me. And this fellow, he is coming and going home at 6 o'clock, I will not work with him. Okay. And that other poor fellow, he is also good, but obviously he is 8 hours good. After that, he has a life with his family. This fellow, for him, knowledge is the pursuit in his life. So this is what happens, and therefore he starts looking down upon other people. So pride comes. Look how I am so much keen on developing this knowledge. How come you rascals don't want to develop this knowledge? So you are all abnormal. I am only normal. You understand what I mean? So this is what happens. Attachment to knowledge can result in pride. And the nature of any attachment is what? Is liberating or binding? Binding. Correct? What is that verse? Arvind Prabhu, where are you?
Yes.
What is that verse? Moksha dwaram aparva. Pasangam ajaram pasam. Atmana kavayo viduhu. Sa eva sadhusho krito. Moksha dwaram apavritam. Which means what? Attachment to all the material objects is only, of this world, is only binding. Whereas attachment to sadhus or saintly personalities will be liberating. So even in that attachment, where you get attached to is a question. One attachment is binding, one attachment is liberating. But attachment of all material types is always binding. So mode of goodness thus binds us to this material world. Okay. And this attachment breeds pride. And Prabhupada writes that attachment coupled with pride, now slowly you are coming into the mode of passion. And gradually he says, such attachment to jnana causes ajnana, causes ignorance, right? Which means you start thinking, I am better than others. That is ignorance. I am better than others means what? I am. That is coming from which platform? False ego. Right? So slowly the falsity is now getting to you. In the mode of passion. In verse 6, if you go back and see, there is a word called raga. Rajo ragatmakam. Can you see that? Raga atmakam, born of desire or lust. Okay?
That's seven.
Oh, that is 7, sorry. So, Prabhupada writes that there are 2 states. One is being nirmal or pure, and one is covered by this raga, which is called as colored. Right? So, Prabhupada writes that the mode of passion, you see everything in a colored sense. Everything is colored by your unlimited desires. Right? Again, go back to that example. There is a beautiful lady standing in front of a man. And then there is also a tiger standing next to the man. Both are seeing that lady in different perspectives to enjoy. Correct? One is lust and other is hunger. Correct? For one it is food, for another one is sense gratification. Right? So it's like that. So everything is, whatever we see is colored by our own desires. And that's why we are not able to sometimes even have normal relationships with each other, loving relationships. Because all of us are colored by our own desires deep within. If our desire therefore is to only to serve the Lord, then there is no class in Vaishnava relationships required in this world. If our desire is only to serve the Lord and His devotees, will you have ever problem with someone if you want to serve that person? Where will we have problems? When we don't want to serve, only then we will have problems in this world. Correct? Who will have problems with them? Who will have problems with us if we want to serve them? Nobody will have problems. Question? Later on. Let me complete this section, because otherwise I will not be able to. So, the soul, because of this colored conditioning, experiences what is called as Trishna Sangha. Trishna means what? Thirst. Thirst or hankering for boundless material enjoyment. And therefore, he is forced to engage in hard work, which is Karma Sangha. Trishna Sangha leads to Karma Sangha. When I was in US, someone gave me one cassette. There was a very nice song. It said, Jagat ko jo uthaye hai, uthata hai use jhula. It's like that, no? It's a nice song. It says that whoever is controlling the world and who is making us swing, we will put him on a swing and swing him. It's about Lord Krishna. Very nice song. So, usme there was one line which comes in between. It says, Mitegi kab meri trishna. Trishna is what? Material hankering. Sununga vams jab Krishna. He says, so my material hankering will go away only when I am able to hear the vams or the flute, the mellifluous voice that comes out from the flute of Lord Krishna, the message which is coming to me. Mitegi kab meri Trishna, sununga vams jab Krishna. He says like that. And then he says, yeah, aapne suna hai gaana? Then he says, the other line is, फिर खेल अब खेलो जो ब्रज गलियों में था खेला. Oh Lord Krishna, please come and play in my heart the same games that you played in Braj Bhumi, like that. Very beautiful song. I should like that song. I don't know what that cassette. I got it from ISKCON, but I don't know who sang that. Okay, so this is called as Trishna Sangha. Trishna Sangha means what? Thirst, hankering for material enjoyment, and which makes us engage in karma sangha. Even with people who are also like-minded. Okay, come on, work 18 hours a day, 20 hours a day. Like that. Now, in verse 3.37, the effect of this is given. Go back to 3.37 in your Bhagavad Gita. If anyone has not big Bhagavad Gita, tell me the page numbers. I can look at it fast. Let's see who gives it first. 170, 181, no, 182.
173.
3.37 is in 183 page. Correct or no? Yeah, in my book is 183. 3.37. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material mode of passion and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world. Kama yesha krodha yesha rajaguna samudbhava mahashano mahapatma vidhi enam ihi vairinam. Right? Vairinam. So the mode of passion tends one to degrade eventually to the mode of ignorance. So you started with mode of goodness, now you have been trapped because of pride into the mode of passion and it leads you to ignorance. Now it is mentioned that in goodness, only in mode of goodness, we can work purely. That is one characteristic of mode of goodness. Whereas in mode of passion, in mode of goodness, we work purely. Purely means what? We don't have attachment to the fruits of our work. We can work like that, in mode of goodness. Doing charitable work, this, that. But of course, slowly, if you continue doing that, you will eventually be dragged into passion. How? Right. Initially, you will say, "Mujhe kuch nahi chahiye." Then you will say, "At least thank you," and that's when first expectation will come. Don't say thank you. At least say Hari bol. At least smile. Oh, this person. At least recognize that. So that's when you are now coming into the mode of, because nobody can do mode of goodness like that. Continuously doing, in this world. You can only do that in devotional service. We cannot do it. Ordinarily, we cannot do it. Somewhere you will get trapped. Some expectation will be there. Or at least that expectation. कुछ नहीं बस अब स्वर्ग लोक जाना है. धर्म किए हैं. Something like that. Some expectation will be there. You cannot say, I don't expect anything. Not possible like that. People pretend when they say they don't expect anything. So, in mode of goodness, really someone is in mode of goodness, that person will work purely. Now, mode of passion is also in one sense, of course, second best, because in mode of passion, we at least produce some fruits, correct? In passion we work, but that fruits can at least be offered to Lord Krishna. Whereas in the mode of ignorance, we produce nothing. But it only produces deeper ignorance, that's all. So mode of ignorance is the worst in that sense. So now, mode of goodness also there can be inactivity, and mode of ignorance also there can be inactivity, but they are different. So, Burijan Prabhu writes a beautiful statement. He says, Sattva Gun, mode of goodness, which it creates inactivity based on knowledge. Whereas Tamagun creates inactivity based on ignorance. Both are inactivity. One is inactivity because of knowledge, where you don't over endeavor, and one is inactivity because of indolence or laziness, where you don't work. Correct? So both have different types of inactivity. Like that. And in verse 8, the Lord mentions the word tu to indicate, where is that? Anyone can point out? Huh? Tamas tu. But. Tu means what? But. Why does the Lord use that word? Because ignorance opposes the other two modes. It is said that madness or pramada opposes goodness. And alas means what? Laziness. Alasya or indolence opposes passion. Right? Madness opposes goodness and indolence, laziness opposes passion. Right? But nidra or sleep opposes both goodness and passion. Okay? Some people are inactive, but some people are asleep. Correct? Inactivity also is still higher than total nidra. Correct? People who don't get up, even after 10:30 the alarm has to blast in the morning. Or 12 o'clock they will get up. I had one friend, he used to sleep till 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Holiday bhai, he will say. Hostel mein. 3 o'clock. Next day, get up. I don't know how one can sleep that much. Lunch, everyone has finished lunch also. And everyone is taking afternoon nap and he is getting up. Good morning, he used to say. 3 o'clock. The risk of people in mode of goodness is that you become too attached to the concept of happiness and peace of mind. Peace chahiye, peace. Shanti. Sukh, shanti. People say like that. They want sukh and shanti. So, and when they get that, they are too self-satisfied with that sukh and shanti that they don't follow the Paramatma after that. Paramatma tells what? Excuse me, you are right now having a lot of peace of mind, but look, everything is temporary in this material world. Switch off baita. Tension mat dena. Abhi to theek hai na. Right now I am happy. Correct? Peace of mind is there. Everything is there. See, I have got property, I have got name, job is running fine, promotion is coming fine, recognition is there in society, car is there, children are studying well, everything is first class. Correct? Don't give me more instruction. Don't unnecessarily tell. Some people come to the program and say, ये Krishna conscious वाले लोग हमेशा pessimistic क्यों बात करते हैं? Birth, disease, death. What is this? Be positive, optimistic. See the good things. Correct? So Krishna conscious people are not pessimistic, they are realistic. We are telling people, Jeev jago, please wake up. Yes, it's like if a goat is there who is about to going towards the slaughterhouse and the grass is green here, goat is eating, you are going and telling, अरे मत जाओ यार वो काट देगा तुमको आगे. अरे क्या है यार अभी घास खाने दो ना अभी आराम से. क्यों pessimistic होते हो? Be positive. See, look at the grass, it's getting greener and greener as I go towards that chopping block. It's like that. Okay? So this is not called as pessimism. This is called as being aware of the realities of life. So, being too self-satisfied, the mode of goodness people do not follow the diktats of the super soul. On the other hand, what about the mode of passion? Burjan Prabhu writes that they have desire to speak too loudly. Keep talking. So much they talk that they cannot hear the voice of the super soul. Most of the time they are only talking. Not listening enough to their friend or the super soul. So that is these people. And the mode of goodness, they are too much deep in sleep to hear anything what is going on. Okay. Too inert, ignorant, and mad. They have become mad. So they can't even hear the super soul. Most of the time that Michael Jackson is blasting. So where is super soul coming there? I am bad. So how you can come to the mode of goodness? You are hearing I am bad. That song all the time. Not possible. Mode of ignorance. Right? Thus the three modes of material nature condition the jiva and keep the living entity happy and satisfied in its different cages as the jiva tries to pursue the pleasures of the material world. Okay? This is the problem. Rajma Prabhu, I'll take your question later. Kiran Prabhu, आपका भी एक question था. I'll take it later because we want to complete till 16 today. Okay. Sometimes, verse 10 I am reading. Sorry. Huh? Yeah, 5 minutes. 1 minute per verse. Okay, we'll see how long we go. Sometimes the mode of goodness becomes prominent, defeating the modes of passion and ignorance. O son of Bharata, Sometimes the mode of passion defeats goodness and ignorance, and at other times ignorance defeats goodness and passion. In this way, there is always a competition for supremacy. The manifestation of the mode of goodness can be experienced when all the gates of the body are illuminated by knowledge. O chief of the Bharatas, when there is an increase in the mode of passion, the symptoms of great attachment, fruitive activity, intense endeavor, and uncontrollable desire and hankering develop. Very beautiful, no? Sound. See this beautiful sequence. First is what? Great attachment. Attachment ho gaya to kaam karo. Fruitive activity, intense endeavor. And then because of that again what happens? Uncontrollable desire, right? And then hankering develop. When there is an increase in the mode of ignorance, O son of Kuru, darkness, inertia, madness and illusion are manifested. So, this verse 11 to 13 explain how the effects of three modes of material nature are manifested. Specifically, verse 11 says that there are 9 gates. What are the 9 gates? 2 eyes, 2 ears, nostrils, mouth, genitals and anus. Now, it is said that when every gate is illumined by the mode of goodness, then one sees, hears and tastes everything in the right position. Okay. One is clean inside as well as outside. And in every gate, you develop symptoms of happiness. This is mode of goodness. Therefore, you will find some people always peaceful, smiling, generally very happy, like that. And in the mode of passion, a person is never satisfied with what one has. He has to hanker for more and more to increase his or her position. First it starts with roti kapda, and then it starts with makan, residence. Then you want palatial mansion after that. Ordinary residence is not enough, apartment not enough, unit not enough, house not enough, duplex it has to be, up and down, then building. Then we want to own the whole city. And then the soul wants to remain with his or her family in that house, right? To continue the process of sense gratification. There is no stoppage of this desire. This is called as mode of passion. And in mode of ignorance, there is no regulation at all. Do whatever the mind says, like that. Whimsical action without any purpose. Chalo chalte hain, kidhar? Chalte hain yaar. No, like that we used to do in hostel. Chalo let's go. Where? Chalo khat udhar vada pav khate jaate. Chalo. और चलो दारू पी के आते हैं. अरे अभी किधर यार? चल यार, चलो जाते हैं, चल. क्यों? क्या है? ऐसे ही बस. चलो चलते हैं. चलो चलते हैं. चलो. कम आ रहा है क्या? चलो. Whimsical action, nothing, no purpose, nothing. Just go. That's all. One person will be hungry, the whole hostel will go to eat. Correct? Yeah, sometimes in office we also say, चलो चल रहा है, किधर? बाथरूम. अच्छा, क्या बहुत correct? There also no purpose, whimsical action, no regulation, nothing. And despite the fact that one has a capacity, the person will never endeavor like that. So, consciousness is active, but life is inactive. There is consciousness going on inside, but there is nothing in your life. It's like hollow, completely. This is called as illusion, mode of ignorance. When one dies in the mode of goodness, he attains to the pure higher planets of the great sages. When one dies in the mode of passion, he takes birth amongst those engaged in fruitive activities, and when one dies in the mode of ignorance, he takes birth in the animal kingdom. Okay. Now this is important to understand. Now please hear carefully. One last concept and we will finish the class. Okay. So, mode of goodness begets what? Heavenly planets. Where are the heavenly planets? Let's quickly use the board. I need a duster. Where is the duster? Suvarna Krishna Prabhu. Duster. Huh? Tissue actually.
Prabhu, I make the board a little bit.
Should not call it toilet paper. Now it is spiritual. So, okay, and then navel, right? And then there are how many? 14. Who said 7? Okay, so we are in the earthly planetary systems. Now, mode of goodness, two types of people have. People who have piety and people who do not have. Does it make sense or no? People who believe in God and people who need not believe, who don't believe in God, but they just believe in being good human beings. That's all. Two types are there. One still has God consciousness, but he is a sakama devotee. Sakama means what? Doing good things, devotee, but also has lot of material enjoyments needed in the life, along with devotional service, like that. And then one person doesn't believe in Bhagavad, etc., but still does charity, being a good person. Many times when you preach, spirituality and all, I don't know. You have to be good. You have to help mankind. That's all. हम तो उस बात को मानता हूँ. भगवान है नहीं है किसने देखा है? But हम अच्छा इंसान हैं. No, people will say like that. So they need not necessarily be. Now, these planets are called as heavenly planets, and these planets are called as heavenly planets. These planets are also heavenly planets. Yeah. These are called as subterranean heavenly planets, or Bila Swarga. Okay. Whereas this is called as Divya Swarga. Okay. If you study Srimad Bhagavatam 5th canto, you will know this. This is called as what? Divya Swarga, and this is called as Bila Swarga. But these are also heavenly planets below the earth. Okay. So a person who has done good activities, who is a believer, goes here. From here it's easier to go to spiritual world, but from here it is impossible to go to spiritual world. Okay. In both the places, the risk is what? That you will get attached to enjoyment. But where is the risk? 100%. Here. Because here at least you are enjoying, but at least there is some devotional service there. Correct? Everyone is a believer of God. Everyone knows Narayana is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whereas here you don't even believe that, but you are still enjoying. It's the most abominable condition. Being in the subterranean heavenly planets. Easier is hellish planets, which is called as Narakaloka. There are 20. In Garuda Purana it is mentioned. 29 or something, yeah. Can't remember the figure. Of course, we don't need to know also how many are there. Why do we want to know? We don't want to go there. Okay. So that is Narakaloka. So when the soul leaves the body, it goes to a place which is here, somewhere here, called as Pitralok. Does it make sense? Where Yamaraj is there. Okay. So what is Pitralok? Pitralok is like the court. In court what happens? Judgment happens. After the judgment, the destination could be jail or somewhere else. That is different. But the judgment happens in the court. So when the soul leaves the body, lands up in Pitraloka. Judgment is given. Okay, higher planets, enjoy. Okay, a good man. Bhagavan, no. Enjoy. Right? 2 rapes, 3 murders. Okay. Narakaloka. Correct? That's how it works actually. Judgment is there. So that is how people are given orientation program here and induction program. Okay. Now, what happens is a jiva who has performed sinful activities comes here and first is punished. Read this Laws of Nature book by Prabhupada or read 5th canto. You will get scared actually. There are stools, there are lakes of Stool, pus, urine and hair. Anyone wants to swim there? Correct? So first you go and suffer there, and then it is said that your eyes and arms are plucked out. So obviously the question to Keshav Prabhu was what? Prabhu, soul, where is the body? Right? But there is a body which you are provided temporarily, and then your eyes are plucked out. Actually it is there. Right? Yeah. There is a special body provided for treatment. There. And whatever karma that you have performed here, all that you have to do. And after all that punishment, what happens? Then one comes back and enjoys in the, as a human being in the, no, I was just testing. One comes back in the animal species here. After that. After all that torture, one comes back in the animal species. Why?
Because you left the body.
Because you have got punishment, but the desire of a dog has not gone away from you. Because the desire is there, you will again come back here. In the lower species and evolve to animal species. You enjoy, go up. Because in the animal species now, for your sins you have got your karma. But for your desires you have got a body. And in that body you don't accumulate karma. Then you come, evolve after 8.4 million species into the human species. Then again you will lust and again you will come down. So you go up and down like that. But by chance you meet Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Kripa Prasade by Bhaktivedanta. If you meet a devotee, then you are up. So that's basically the cycle. Is it clear? Everyone clear? So that is what in essence is mentioned here in these verses 14 to 15. So Brahma Loka or Jana Loka Prapti, if you are in mode of goodness with idea of God. Okay? Otherwise then you go to Bila Swarga. And such places as Brahma Loka and Jana Loka, Purijan Prabhu writes that they are amalam. Amalam means what? Free from passion and ignorance. Just like Bhagavatam is also called as Amala Puran, free from passion and ignorance. And in such planets, in the higher planets, we will meet sages and great devotees who are still going to cross and go over the spiritual world. So there are different planets which are provided for different kinds of jivas. A detailed explanation you will find in 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So you can read that if you want more details. So, mode of passion, what happens if you leave? Because you want activity, karma is your basic, you can't live without doing some karma. So you have to live in karma bhumi, again you come back to earth. After your death, you will be in earth only. This lifetime in one IT company, another lifetime, another IT company. Correct? Keep coming and performing that. Okay. And mode of ignorance, you go first to the hellish planets, and then you lose your human form, then evolve 8.4 million species or wherever that you are, and then attain human form of life. So all this is going on in a cycle, and all the judgment is given in Pitraloka. So essentially that is what this verse 14 and 15 is mentioned. Okay? So in the next class we will start from 16 and complete the chapter. The Prabhupada ki. So you can ask your questions in the next class. Understand? Don't forget the questions because it may benefit others.